What's happening, everyone? It's Jesse, and I want to welcome everyone to our third day of our Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos Black Light Painting Challenge. I'm a little early, okay, so we're not officially getting started for another few minutes. I want to give people some time to jump on and get themselves nice and ready. But to all of you that are going to be joining today, I want to say thank you and welcome. Okay, let me see here. I just want to run some quick checks to make sure that we are good to go. Please, can somebody give me a sound check? Let me know that you can hear me okay. Okay, please say, hey, Jesse, we can hear you just fine. I know you can see me because I can see myself, but I can't hear myself. So if you could, please give me a sound check. That would be fantastic. Awesome. Hi, Nicole. Thank you, Nicole. Fantastic. Hey, what's happening, Patricia? Awesome, Don. That sounds like you're good to go. So yeah, painted my face. Had a little time to paint my face after I made sure everything was good to go. Check it out. I'm trying to match the moon painting, right? The orange flowers, the red around the eyes. What do you guys think? Anyhow, I'm on a little bit early, about 3 minutes. We're going to get started at 2 o'clock exactly. I'll start talking about the supplies and everything else. So, but once again, just want to appreciate all of you guys that have been painting along last 3 days. If you haven't had a chance to go and do the first or second session, both of those are still available. They will be available. All 3 sessions are, this third session will also be recorded like the other 2. All 3 sessions are going to be available through Tuesday, November 2nd, midnight. Okay, so you have plenty of time to go over and do the event. Just because the Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, is celebrated November 1st and 2nd, doesn't mean that you can't hang up your beautiful masterpiece that you're creating with me and leave it hanging up all throughout the year. Okay, but so you have again until November 2nd, midnight, after which all 3 videos are going to get moved over to my private group, my Finding Your Brushstroke private art membership here within Facebook. Okay, so anyway, a little bit on that. Let me take another look over here on my dashboard. Okay, cool. Thank you, Tina. Thank you. So guys, again, if you could, just let me know when you guys jump on. At some point, let me know where you're joining from, who you're painting with perhaps, and then don't forget to share. I'm especially excited to see all of your pieces, whatever you end up painting on this third day. And so I'd love to see it. If you guys could post it to the private group that we've got going, the 3 days of Dia de los Muertos painting challenge. There's a private group that I created around it. I've had a couple of people ask me, hey, why is it private? It's simply to avoid scammers. It minimizes the chances that scammers will jump onto these live feeds last minute. Okay, so it helps a little bit with that. Also, it kind of creates a little bit of a tight-knit community around the event itself. You're able to share with each other and ask questions, make comments, etc. Okay, so there's the reason for that. What's happening, Gloria? Thank you, Gloria. Thank you, Diane. Yeah, a lot of really nice paintings so far. So many amazing pieces that I've seen. It's so cool to see all of you guys, all of your creativity. Again, just like with everything else that we do with Painting with Jesse, get creative with it. Change it up. Make it your own. Make it yours. Let's see. What do we got here? Look here. It's sunny and about 64 in Buffalo, says Shirley. Hi, Shirley. Awesome. Fantastic. Thanks, Robin. All right. Cool. Looks like everything is going down without a hitch. Lately, I've been having issues with Facebook a little bit. Some of it's been my fault, not to blame everything on Facebook. I've been experimenting a little bit with some of the software that I'm using, and there's always a little bit of a learning curve. So, but I think I got it under control. So, I think we are good to go. But all right, everybody, it is 2 o'clock officially. Let us get moving. So my name is Jesse. I teach people how to draw and how to paint. I want to welcome all of you. I appreciate you being here with me today. If you haven't had a chance to check out days 1 and 2, they are available on the Painting with Jesse page. Simply go to the live tab at the top, click on that, and you'll see the 2 previous sessions there. Once again, they will be available till Tuesday, November 2nd at midnight. You have plenty of time to catch up. So get on that so you don't miss out on the fun. Today, we're going to finish up. We've got a few little details to add. Let me get over to the painting. Let me go ahead and switch the screen really quickly so it's a little bit easier for you guys to see what it is that I'm going to be doing. So we're going to do a few things today. We're going to add the stars. We're actually going to start with those stars that you see in the background. I'm not sure you can tell, but there's one here. And then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little stars kind of hanging out in the background. I didn't go over them a lot. I just did 1 coat of paint on each of those, which is why they're really, really transparent. You can hardly notice them. But maybe on the new one, we'll layer them a little bit to make them stand out a bit. But we are going to get started with that star. We're going to start also, we're going to do another layer of paint on most of the stuff that you see in here, the flowers, the red around the eye, all the bright stuff. The black stuff doesn't need it. That's all pretty good on my painting. But so we're going to do a second layer on all of that, and then we're going to finish up with doing the neon paint over everything. A few of the brushes that I'm going to be using, actually I'm going to be using a chalk pencil for that star. Hopefully it's light enough for you to be able to see it in the video. If not, I may have to go over it with regular chalk. I've got a really bright piece of yellow chalk that I may use for that. As far as the brushes today, all going to be small brushes. I've got my number 5 filbert, a little number 5 filbert there. I've got a couple little liner brushes, a number 0 round, and then a 0 liner, and I do have a number 2 flat. All little tiny brushes for the detail work. Okay, I may switch over to a larger brush here and there, but primarily we're going to be using these small brushes. I've got a bunch of paper towels as always. You guys know I recommend you guys have extra towels handy. I've got my Stay Wet palette right here. I saved my paint from yesterday in here. I haven't opened it yet since yesterday, and everything's nice and wet still. So there we go. It's doing its job. But these are the colors I might be using: red, orange, yellow, green. It just depends on what I decide to layer over. Okay. I've got my neon colors, and the neon colors that I've got, neon paints here, yellow. Okay. Now, these are different from glow in the dark. Okay, I want to remind you guys, these are neon or fluorescent paints. They are not glow in the dark paints. There's a difference. Okay, so I got some blue. I may use the blue on the background. Okay, towards the end, we'll decide on that. We'll see how it goes. I've got some green. Okay, I've got some pink, and I've got some orange. And you notice I'm using different brands. I've got a Folk Art brand. I've got a Deco Art. And then I've got an Anita's all-purpose craft paint brand. There's all sorts of different brands for these neon paints, and you get to pick from all kinds of different brands. They all work about the same, so I recommend any one of those. Okay, so let's see, my brushes, my neon paints, my regular paints. Of course, I'm painting on a 16 by 20 inch canvas, and we are good to go. So let's get going. You guys already know how I do this. As I do a step over here, as soon as I'm done, I give you a few moments to catch up, maybe a minute or so to do that part of the painting on your end. In between the steps, I look at the questions, I answer your comments, etc., etc. The session is being recorded, as I've already mentioned. You can back the video up both on Facebook and on YouTube. You can pause, you can back it up, and then jump back ahead again to meet up where we are at any point during the session. If you missed something that I said, if you need me to repeat something, go ahead and ask me to repeat it, or you can simply back the video up a little bit. Okay, give me some thumbs up. Let me know that you guys are ready to go. Let me know you're ready to go by giving me thumbs up or hearts. If you've been enjoying these sessions, give me a bunch of hearts. Oh, I'm monitoring the feed on my laptop, so if you see me looking down, it's because I'm checking everything out. Your questions and comments are easier to read here as opposed to my camera over there. Okay, so hey, what's happening, Penny? How are you? Thank you for joining in today. Are you painting, or are you just stopping by to say hello? Hi, Robin. How's it going? Let me say hello to a few of you. Thank you, Vanessa. Courtney, how's it going? All right. Looks like we're ready to go. Let's jump right into it. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this star over here. Okay. Now, these stars can be a little tricky sometimes. What I like to do is I'll start with a diamond. Whoops, I'm going to come down about right here. I want to leave a little line for that thread, right, that the star's hanging with. So about down here, I'm going to start with a platform, a little flat line that comes across. Again, this might be a little hard to see. I'm going to make this star a little bit larger than the original, but I start with a little line over the top. Now I'm making a diamond, okay, kind of a diamond shape here. So it's got a top, two sides. Then I'm going to bring this and connect them. Whoops, let me narrow that angle a little bit, and I connect them at the bottom, almost like I'm creating a diamond. Okay. Really quickly, let me take a step back, literally and figuratively. I always mention to you guys, whenever you're going to start your painting, start a session, a continued session, let's say. So we did session 1 a couple of days ago. Session 2 was yesterday. Before we officially start, I always recommend taking a little look, taking a step back, taking a look at your painting, see where you are in the process, see if there's anything that needs to be corrected before you continue. Okay, I did that when I came in this earlier today. I came and looked at it, and I was like, okay, we're good to go. All right, that always it helps to look at your progress with a fresh set of eyes. Okay, so before you get moving, take a step back, look at your painting, and then decide whether you're good to go. Okay, so I've got my little diamond here. What I'm going to do now is add just little triangles to what I've got. So right in here, a little triangle here at the top. Now this could probably be a little bigger, and I might be a little too close to the top of the moon there, to the little point on top of my moon, but that's okay. Then I come across, straight across like that on both sides. Connect that. Okay. Now this star is going to be a little larger than that one. I'm okay with it. This is one way that I teach on how to make stars. Here's another triangle, and then one more. Okay. Another way would be to go and use the old, I'm not sure if you remember, I'm sure it's still done in school, or you kind of do the 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and connect your triangles that way. But once we've got that, I'm just going to go through and do a bunch of those little ones. These are going to be quick. I'm going to give you a close-up here in just a moment. Maybe we'll do one over here. And let's see, maybe a little tiny one over here. There we go. Let me give you a close-up on those. I'm sure most of you guys don't need any help with the stars, but just in case. Okay. I got one here. I got one there. Here. There. Just a few little stars to brighten up that sky. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to take some white. Okay, I'm going to start with some white here. Let me get some white over on my Stay Wet palette here. So add a little bit of white, don't need a lot. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to create a base. Whoops. I'm going to create a base of white paint. And I'm going to be using one of my small brushes here. I'm using my number 5 filbert. Before I cover this with yellow paint, it'll help if I add a layer of white, so that then my yellow stands out when I apply that over this. So all of my stars are going to get a little bit of this white color. Nice and easy. There we go. Again, that's just the base of white. When I put that yellow on top of that, it's going to make it a lot easier to get that yellow to stand out. This way I don't have to do a whole bunch of layers of yellow over the top of that. Because the background is really dark and yellow is really transparent, it'll be difficult to get that yellow to stand out if we don't have a white base first. Interestingly enough, white, especially titanium white, tends to be a lot less transparent or translucent than bright colors like yellow. Okay, so really quickly, I'm going to go and just switch brushes for a moment. I'm going to do the same thing here to my other small stars. Again, we're going to be painting today for about an hour, maybe a little bit more. It just depends on how much we have left, if there's anything left at the end of the hour. And that means that's an hour from when we start. We'll take a look though and see what's left. Maybe we'll paint a little bit longer than an hour. All right, over here. All right. Missing one. This one right here. This layer of white doesn't have to be super intense. Just a little bit of white to act as a base, and we're good to go. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at your questions or comments while some of you get caught up there. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Carolyn. Poor little guy. Hi, Logan. In case he can hear me, Carolyn. Hi, Logan. We're just having fun. Sounds good, Penny. Yeah, no painting and driving. What's going on, Brandy? How are you? Hi, Deb. Thank you for stopping by. All right. Things are looking good on my end. Stay wet palette. Yeah, Brandy, so a stay wet palette. So for those of you that are familiar with acrylic paint, it is a paint that dries very quickly. So often, and I started using a stay wet palette a couple of years ago, but to be very honest, I have not used one very often. Recently, I began to use it. Basically, what it is a box, has a lid to it. Okay. It's a little shallow box. Underneath my palette here, I've got a paper palette on top. Underneath it is a thin yellow sponge in this case. And you wet the sponge, pour a little water on it before you use it. And then you put your palette paper on top. When you put the paints over it, it preserves that water. This paper is a membrane. So the water is able to come through it a little tiny bit at a time, and it keeps your paint wet. So I used the same paint yesterday. When I was done, it keeps your paint wet through the process, but when you cover it, it keeps it wet sometimes for days. So I used this yesterday, and it's still wet. So yeah, a little stay wet palette. They're pretty cheap. You can find those at art stores. I bought mine on Amazon. I've got a bigger one that I sometimes use, but most art stores will carry these as well. But Amazon, I think this one was about $11 on Amazon. It's a little smaller. The other one that I have is really large, So I've got one that's I'd like to get one that's in between. But anyway, this is about a $10, $11, $12 perhaps on Amazon before shipping. So, but yeah, if you've never used one of those, I definitely recommend it. All right. Hi, Logan. Thank you for hanging out, Logan. All right. So here we go. Let's continue to the next step. Give me 1 second. There we go. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding a little bit of a second layer to some of the stuff that we did yesterday. I'm going to take my number 5 filbert once again. And in your case, you want to gauge whether you need a second or third layer, depending on how transparent the paint that you use. And all the acrylic paint brands vary. Every acrylic paint that I've ever worked with has a transparent or translucent nature to it. You could see through it. So it requires that you layer, usually, in most cases, if you want a nice, bright, even background, it's almost necessary 100% of the time that you layer your paint. So you put down a layer of paint, especially when it's your first layer. The only thing you really want to concern yourself with is the size, shape, and make sure that you cover everything that you're applying that paint to. For example, when I applied the paint to the eye yesterday, I just had to make sure that everywhere was covered with paint. It's going to look a little bit uneven in areas, darker in some areas, brighter in some, but then we let that dry. This is my second, maybe third layer. I don't remember if I did a second layer on this yesterday. But either way, when you layer over the dry paint, it makes it a lot brighter, a lot more intense, and a lot more even. Okay, so depending on what it is that you're painting, it's up to you. You decide whether you're going to be adding more layers of paint. Do you need it to be more even, brighter, less blotchy? Because a lot of times that first layer tends to be really blotchy. So just going through and adding a second layer here on lots of these little features. Okay, I did my red. That little heart's not going to need it. It's pretty small. When I cover that with neon paint, it's going to look perfect. So that was my red. I'm going to go ahead and grab a little bit of orange. I'm just going to scoop up some orange here, bring it over to my little orange patch over here. Remember, you want to add a little bit of water to your mixture. All you do is dip your brush just part of the way down. You don't want to dip the brush all the way in where you start putting this in the water. Try to avoid that as much as possible. It'll help your brushes last longer. Down in here where you got the glue, it's where the bristles are all held together. And if that continually gets water in there over time, your bristles will start to come out. So you want to try to avoid that as much as you can. I know it's not always possible. So here we go. A little bit of a cadmium orange for my leaves. And if you notice, that was a big difference between the original layer, or this, which is really transparent, and this second layer that I've just applied to that flower. So for example, here, if I just apply it to this petal, it's got a nice little difference there. It's a lot brighter, a lot more even. There we go. All right. Now over here. Okay, so I'm going to stop there on those flowers. Let me just clean this edge up a little bit. I'll stop right there. If I wanted to, I could wait for that to dry and come back and do a third layer, fourth layer. I think that on those flowers, the orange flowers for sure, I know I only did one layer, so this is my second layer. If I want more intensity in those flowers, more evenness in the paint, I'll wait for them to dry and come back and do a third layer. Okay, it's not necessary. I'm not going to do that in this case, but just so that those of you that are newer to acrylic painting get an understanding that that's how it works. Oftentimes, newer painters that aren't familiar with the process will put down their first layer of paint and they see that it's really blotchy and uneven, and they're sitting there loading up, the brush and adding more paint over it. And all you do when you do that is move paint around. You're just shifting where the unevenness falls. And if you keep doing it and keep adding more and more paint, you end up with a really thick, almost heavy paste, because what starts to happen is those layers underneath, as you're applying more and more paint, what's underneath starts to dry. So as you're moving things around, you start creating kind of a buildup, and then it gets messy. And in some cases, you even start to lift paint off of the canvas. So you apply one layer, let it dry, come back, do a second layer, let it dry, come back, do a third layer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, acrylic paint is about working in layers. All right, let's grab a little bit of green here. A little bit of water once again. I'm just dipping my water into my rinse cup here. Bring that water over. And here we go, my leaves. If you guys haven't had a chance yet, check out all of the pictures that a few of you have been sharing on the paint on the 3 days of Dia de los Muertos painting challenge. There's been quite a few of you that have shared your pictures, so for like your works in progress. Some of you already went through and finished them. Lots of really amazing and beautiful pieces in there. If you guys aren't sure of what to do with yours, you can go in there and take a look at some of what other people have done, and you'll get some pretty awesome ideas. Lots of creative folks in here. All right, so there we go. Second layer on those leaves. Now, I'm not going to do anything with these guys. They're pretty good. I'm happy with what I've got there. Okay, I just want to rinse out my brush really quickly, and then I'm going to grab some yellow to do the center of my flowers. Uh-oh. Power went out to part of the building. Part of my, I think it's just the floor that I'm on. Doesn't hurt anything on our end, but everything got a little dark over here. You guys notice that? So the wall, the circuitry in one of the walls in here is connected to the office building next door. And if I have my air on, which I did, I have a portable air conditioning unit in here. When I have my air on, if the people over there turn on their microwave, it flips the breaker. So that's what happened. Hence my lights that are connected to that circuit went out. They'll probably get it back up and running here in a little bit. I hear footsteps. I hear the scrambling happening. Happens from time to time. As long as it doesn't interfere with the broadcast that we've got going on here, we're good. All right. Yeah, Brandy, definitely. I recommend it. Instead of, there's other ways to keep your paints wet. What I sometimes will do is I'll take a little, there we go, breaker's back on. I'll take a little sprayer or a little mister, really fine mist. And let's say I'm not using a Stay Wet palette. Even sometimes on my Stay Wet palette, I'll still spray this right over the top if it's a particularly hot day, etc. But even this, I can mist my canvas, and when I put the paint on it, it'll prolong the drying time of the paint on the canvas. Not by a whole lot, but enough where I could do things like blending. It gives me time to work on the paint in the canvas. But let's say that I'm using a plastic palette or a plate, and I've got my paints on it. From time to time, I'll come over and I'll mist them. I'll just mist everything. Again, you want to use a fine mister for that, especially if you're going to be misting your canvas while there's paint on it. Because if you use anything other than a fine mist, sprayer, you're going to get big droplets of paint, and those will start to run down your canvas, which you can create a really big mess with that if you've already got paint all over the place, right? So, but that is another way to do it. Okay. What's happening, Rachel? Thank you, Rachel. Thank you. Thank you. But all right. So what else do we got going on here? I'm going to go ahead. These are dry now. I can go ahead and start adding yellow. Now, if I added another layer of white to the stars, when I add the yellow over it, it'll make it stand out even more. In this case, it's not necessary. I am going to be adding some neon paint over the yellow when I get to that point. But if I wanted to, I could add more white to that, and it will stand out even more than what it's going to now with only one layer of white. So again, kind of up to you. If you decide you want your yellow to pop out a little bit more, then add another layer of white first, let that dry, and then come back over it with your yellow. Okay. Let me switch brushes, go over one of my small ones. Now for this, I'm using my 0 round brush. Gotta make sure all this is dry before I put my hand on it. Of course, these little stars over here are tricky because they're so small, right? So we got to make sure we're using a small brush for that. All right, up here. Nice and easy. Think easy anyway. Again, if you're newer at painting or you've been painting for a little while, one of the things that I recommend is to just enjoy the process. Relax. Have fun with it. Okay? I think it helps to relax a little bit. Or rather, at least a little bit. My drawing hand or my non-painting hand sits on my table here. I'm working on a canvas, so it makes it easier to do this, or on an easel. I put my painting hand on top, and it's another way to stabilize my painting hand. Last thing I want to do, if I can help it, is to do this free floating like this, especially with something so small as those stars. If I do it with my hand just hanging in the air, my hand is more likely to shake. So one trick that I'll use, sometimes I'm doing this, those of you that have been painting with me for a while know that I'll put my pinky on here. That it stabilizes my hand. I can also put my hand right up on the canvas if all this is dry. Okay, another way, put my hand here on my table. I put my painting hand over the wrist or the hand of my other hand, and that helps stabilize everything. Makes it a little easier to get in there and make those little tiny lines. There we go. And then again, I want to come back and make those yellows brighter, more even. If you look at this star, there's some blotchiness in this. Okay, you can see some of the blues coming through from underneath. Even though I put that first layer of white on there, you can still see a little bit of blotchiness coming through. All of that goes away the more layers you apply. Okay. All right. Now, did I or didn't I add paint to these guys? I think I did. I believe I did, but just in case I was talking through that and didn't and forgot to do it, I'm going to go ahead and do it now. Don't forget, folks, please ask your questions. Leave your comments. I'm more than happy to. Yes, Rachel. So neon paints and fluorescent paints essentially are the exact same thing. Okay, you'll find them under fluorescent. Sometimes you'll see the word fluorescent on them, and sometimes you'll see the word neon on them. Often you'll see the words black light on them. Okay, so for example, there's one there. There's one there, and then this one says blacklight neon on it. Now, it's always best to test if you got a black light like I've got here. Watch. I'm not sure if you can, hopefully you can see it through the video. But when I don't shine the light on it, look at the difference. Okay, when I do this, it really, really glows, almost it looks like a flashlight almost. And this is just the paint bottle. Okay, so if you ever have a question whether the paint that you're getting has this, you can grab one of these little black lights, and you can order these on Amazon. They're smaller ones, there's little tiny ones also. Okay, and look at that. Without the light on it, and then all of a sudden it turns into, it looks like a flashlight in the video with how it glows. But on the original painting here, look at that. Okay, so, but yeah, fluorescent, neon, black light, those are all interchangeable, which is different from glow in the dark. Okay, glow in the dark is different. These neon fluorescent paints do not glow in the dark. These just glow under black light. Glow in the dark paint will glow under black light, but it doesn't glow in the same manner as this neon paint. Okay, neon paint looks really cool under black light. Glow in the dark paint will also glow under black light, but the effects are not quite as impactful. All right, great question. So let me take a little step back, see where I'm going to go next. Okay, I think we're ready to start applying some neon. Now, this step that I'm about to do, if you don't have any neon paint, you can add it at any time. If you want to go pick up some neon paint, most art stores carry this stuff. Hobby Lobby and Michael's is often where I pick up my neon paints, but you can also order it. You can also order it directly from Michael's. You can order it. You can order it on Amazon. Amazon's always a little more expensive though, so be careful. I've seen some of these bottles of neon for like $10 on Amazon, where you can get them for like $2-3 directly from the stores. So yeah, so just be careful. Shop around a little bit if you've got the time, but you can always apply, because it's the very last step. You can always apply this later. And I'm putting my paints on my Stay Wet palette here. I'll show you what they look like. Basic, just really bright paints. The other thing about these neon paints is that they don't have to be under black light. They're really bright, and you will notice the difference when you look at these under regular light. They don't have to be under black light for you to see a difference, but having them under black light is where they really glow intensely. They almost look like they're emanating light. So, but again, for those of you, and I know we still have the white eyelid to add here, we'll add that in just a little bit. Actually, and it doesn't matter, we could have added that first and then gone to the neons, but we'll add those here in a little while. So there's my neon colors. Look at the difference between that orange, that pink. This is actually pink, not red, but they're just quite a bit brighter. They're runny, as you see the orange paint running down the palette. But look at that. If I shine a light on them, they glow really, really nicely. We got green, we got yellow, we got orange, pink, and blue. Okay? So here we go. Let's add a little bit of this neon. And just like with everything else, you layer it if you want it to get really, really intense, or you can use it sparingly if you want it to be less impactful. All right, so here we go. Starting with the orange. Just going to take this. Look at the difference. If I apply it right here to this petal, already that looks way brighter than the rest of it. These colors are awesome for Halloween. Anything that you want to make stand out. Again, even under normal conditions, the color difference is pretty significant. There we go. Next one. I'm using my number 5 filbert brush in case anybody is wondering. Now, your brushes are very important. If you're newer to painting, you don't have to go out and buy super expensive brushes, but you do want to get some good brushes. If you've got some I don't want to say that you can't find any good brushes at a 99-cent store, for example, or a discount store, but you want to make sure that you're using brushes that are going to last and that are good quality. It will make your painting experience so much better, so much easier. Your paints also. You don't have to break the bank to get good supplies, but you do want to invest a little bit if you're thinking you might be doing this for a little bit. Lots of people make the mistake because they don't think they're going to be painting for a while. They go out and buy some really cheap stuff, and then their experience around painting for the first time or first couple of times won't be as fun, and it will most likely be quite a bit more difficult. So you can buy a good set of brushes for under $10, $12 for the basics. Good set of paints can run you about $20 again for the basics, but those create a really different experience than when you go out and buy stuff that isn't adequate. Okay, so just a little tip there for those of you that if you're struggling, if you're noticing that your brushes aren't, maybe your brushes start to fall apart or they're spreading, etc., you might want to look into getting some nicer brushes. All right, a little bit of yellow here. One brand that I recommend that has never failed me, good bang for your buck, are the Princeton. Princeton brushes make a good quality. You can buy some of the Princeton sets of the basics again for under $10, $12, and they last a long time. As long as you take care of them, clean them up after every use, they're going to last a long time. Okay. All right. My stars are still wet. At least that one is. So we're going to move over to the green. I like to do the same colors all at the same time. It's just a little more, all the areas with the same colors at the same time. It just makes things a little bit more, a little bit easier, a little bit more organized, but you don't have to stick to that. So here we go. A little bit of green here. Right over my leaves. Let's see if you guys can see a difference here. If the camera will capture it. Leaf with fluorescent green on it, leaf that does not have any. Flower, look at that. It lights up. Okay. I know it's a little hard to tell on camera. The impact is much more obvious in person. And I can tell just by looking at the camera over there. But again, you could always add this at a later time. In just a moment, before I continue with the neon on the leaves and stuff, I'll look over at your comments, questions, etc. Hopefully, I haven't missed anyone's post. But if I did, feel free to. If you have a question, especially, feel free to post it again. I usually go back and look at the questions in the recordings, and I'll answer them there. But I'd rather answer you here live because other people may have the same question, and they're just being a little shy about it. No wrong question, folks. Jump in and let me know what's on your mind. Hi, Guadalupe. How's it going? Oh, thanks, Robin. Yep. No worries. I was gonna forget. There was a good chance I was gonna forget. So thank you for the reminder. Thank you, Guadalupe. Yes, anytime you guys think I'm going to forget something, make sure you put it in the comments. Hey, Jesse, don't forget this. Again, I've gotten a lot better about it, but there's no guarantees. Sounds good, Penny. Have a good one. Thank you. Safe trip, whatever you're doing. Safe driving. Hi, Lori. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, guys. Again, don't be shy. Put your comments, your questions down. I'm looking over at the feed. Now, I am sending this out to 3 different locations, so it might be a little tricky to get all of your comments. But I am looking at the questions now in the comments. So let me scroll down here. Let's see. Sounds good, Don. Yep. Another thing that you can do here instead of neon paint, you could use glitter paint. Okay. Glitter paint works just like, or not just like it, but really similarly to regular paint or neon paint. You brush it on. What glitter paint is just like a glue. There's a glue, clear glue that you got all these glitter bits floating around in, and you brush those on as accents, just like I'm doing with the fluorescent paint. And you apply it over the top of wherever you want to create a really nice accent on a painting. If you want something to stand out, put a little glitter paint on it, and that'll do the trick. Okay? But all right. Let's see. What else do we got? Okay, looks like no new questions at the moment. What's happening, Sarah? You know what? Great question, Sarah. So Sarah says, if we varnish the finished piece, will it affect the neon and glow-in-the-dark paint? No. Okay? As long as you're using an acrylic paint-safe varnish, from what I've seen, from the varnishes that I've used in the past, I use them over glitter paint, over neon paint. It does not affect those at all. Now, it depends on the varnish, right? Because there's different varnishes out there, different varnishes with different finishes. If you're using a varnish that has a tint in it, for example, that can cause a bit of a problem, but those are kind of rare. Just make sure it's a clear varnish and you're going to be fine. But yeah, you should be perfectly fine. Now, here's another little trick though. Think about this for a second. If you were to varnish over your painting and something happened to your neon glow, right, to the glow in the dark or the neon paint, as long as you're not putting on a huge thick layer of varnish, you could always apply some of that glow in the dark or the neon paint over your varnish. There have been times in the past when I did a painting and I applied glitter to it and then I varnished it. And then later I was like, oh, I wish I would have added more glitter, or I wish I would have added more neon paint. I'll come back over it. You can't tell the difference, or the difference is super, super minimal. By applying the glitter or the varnish the glitter or the neon paint over the varnish. You can do that. Okay? Absolutely. No problem. My pleasure. Thank you for the question. That was excellent. And again, folks, any question, doesn't really matter what you've got. If you're new at painting and haven't, painted before or whatever, or you've been painting for a little while, I'm sure you've got questions. Please put them down. Okay? Lots of new people on here. Obviously, for obvious reasons, I tend to notice that newer people are a little shy sometimes to ask questions, but that's what I'm here for. And we got a lot of really nice people, supportive people in the during the live session that will also help answer questions. People that have been painting with me for a little while, and have learned some of this stuff. They'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Oh yeah, for sure, Courtney. Hi, Sandy. Loved your painting, by the way, Sandy. That was awesome. Yeah, Jack Skellington with oh my gosh, Sally. I did a couple of those last year. Actually, we ended up doing 3 Jack Skellington paintings last year. This was one of them. I also did a Jack Skellington Christmas, and then I did one pre-Halloween with Jack Skellington and Zero. So those were a lot of fun. I don't have a Nightmare Before Christmas painting coming up. At least not in the works at the moment. We'll see, maybe. We'll see what happens. Robin, would Dragonfly work? I'm sorry, Robin, what is that? I'm not sure that I'm familiar with that. What is Dragonfly? Maybe a brand or something that I'm not familiar with. I've been painting for quite a few years, but there's so many different mediums, supplies, and even just under acrylic paint. I paint with oil and acrylic paint primarily, actually pretty exclusively, and I draw. I like to draw a lot, but there's still so many products out there that I'm not familiar with. But let me know. I can look into it. Okay, but yeah, give me a little more detail around that. I'd be more than happy to answer your question, Robin. All right, back to the green. You guys know. Actually, I'm going to switch over to my tiny little liner brush. Okay, just grabbing some neon here. I'm going to come over, start applying it in here. All right, back over here. The cool thing when I do these lives, often I will get somebody who's got a little experience or something, or they've been experimenting with other other mediums or other styles, etc. But they'll introduce something new to me, and I'll be like, oh, what is that? So I do sometimes learn from you guys as well. Part of why I love doing these. Or you guys will point me to something that I was like, oh, let me take a look at that. A lot of people on here like to do paint pouring, which I've done a little tiny bit of, but I started doing it some time ago because somebody brought it up to me. Hey, do you know what paint pouring is? And I think I'd heard of it, but I never really looked into it too much. So little things like that. All right, there we go. Let me take my black light here really quickly and see what we got. Okay, so again, if I go back over any of this that's dried, I can make it stand out even more. I'm going to add some red now, or the pink, to my red parts. Still using my number 5 little filbert here. Using my pinky, I press it right up against that canvas. Stabilizes my hand. Pinky hand stabilizer is what this is. Somebody on one of my lives last year sometime, I think it was around this time too, maybe it was in October, November, but almost a year ago. Must be some kind of anniversary because I'm remembering. She said, oh, I see you're using your pinky hand stabilizer, and that stuck. So yeah, pinky hand stabilizer. Okay, and I just put my pinky right up on the canvas. Helps me to paint with a little bit more stability. I use it when I'm drawing as well. There we go. Take my small brush and do that little heart up on top before I forget. Okay. Oh, okay. Got it. So basically a glaze. Um, yes, a glaze, because it dries pretty hard. It just, as long as it's not a really porous surface, you'd be fine pretty much with a glaze or a varnish. You'd be okay. Any kind of varnish. And again, I know there's some varnishes that, sorry, and some glazes sometimes come tinted. So that's probably the only thing you'd have to be aware of, or cautious with. If you glaze it, um, once it's dried, same thing with the varnish. You can always apply paint on top of it if it did somehow minimize the effect of the glow or the fluorescent or the glitter. Okay, but glazes and varnishes pretty much same thing. You could apply them and you should be fine. Okay, but thank you. Great question. All right, here we go. We're going to, before I do the yellow on the stars, I'm going to go ahead. Actually, you know what? No, might as well. Let's just stick to it. I thought I saw a little bit of a wet area on that star. I'm going to go ahead and paint those in yellow. Sometimes with glazes, some people will mix paint. You mix paint with your glaze. So again, if you go too heavy on that, then if you're covering up your neon, right, or fluorescent paint, that obviously can affect it because you'll create like a cloud over it. But if it's a clear glaze that you're applying, you should be fine. Here we go. Now, as far as glazing, I've never glazed over a fluorescent or glitter painting. I have used glazing to paint over the times that I've used glazes are more of when I wanted to, you can paint where you do like a black and white painting, values, where you're just applying values to a painting, meaning you do everything. You remove all saturation from a painting. So what you're left with is just the values in blacks, whites, and gray. In other words, grays that are left underneath. So you can create that effect. Let's say we were to do this in only blacks, whites, and grays. So you're only left with the light and dark values underneath your paint, right? Once that dries over that, you can use a glazing technique to paint over the top of that and create some really cool effects. But you're basically using, whoops, wrong color. You're basically using the glaze with paint in it to create the saturation in your painting. A little bit of advanced, and at some point in my membership, we'll probably get into that. But that's a ways away. But again, there's just so many different ways to paint. The best way to learn, as far as I'm concerned, is to just experiment. Do a lot of experimentation. Just go for it, first off. Lots of people are hesitant, or at one point they tried painting or tried drawing and they didn't do well, at least in their mind, and they give up. They say, I don't want it, never mind. I'm not good at this, never mind. But you practice, you go for it. But that's the first thing, right? First you go for it. But I always recommend lots of experimentation. You keep what works and you scrap what doesn't. Keep what you like and you let go of what you don't like. Glazing. Glazing's pretty cool. That type of glazing anyway. Okay. You can also use glazing to create mood in a painting. Let's say you got a painting like this. You glaze over it with a tint in the glaze. You could create mist. You could create just a general tint to the whole thing, over the top of it. It creates kind of a mood, like when you paint the sky or something in nature. That can be used for cases like that. Again, though, so many different ways to paint. All right. Let me take a step back. Shine my black light on this. Sounds good, Don. Have a good one. Thank you for joining in today. Can't wait to see what you painted with us. Just going over some of these. Okay. And just like with everything else, I could go back in there and refine things. I could add more of this fluorescent paint over the top of what I've already got on the canvas. Okay. But let me give you guys about a minute to get caught up with that. And then we're going to add the eye to the center of the eye socket. Here is basically a big old eye socket, right? We're going to add the eyelid. Again, it looks kind of like a witch's hat, but it's an eyelid that's closed. And you got the bottom, just the very edge of the bottom eyelid showing. After that, maybe we'll do a little bit of outlining, like some of the flowers have here, or the flowers have there, and then the leaves. Okay, so let's take a look at your questions. See what you guys got. Questions or comments. Remember, I look down at my laptop to look at your questions. So if you see me looking down, that's why I am doing that. Thank you, Tina. I love having you in there. Okay, love having you in there. I got quite a few guys jumping on today, part of my membership group. So thank you guys so much. I love having you guys on at all times. So thank you for joining in today. But all right, just looking through the questions, see if I've missed anyone's hellos, comments, etc. So again, guys, I tried to match up my makeup a little bit to the painting. I got the red around the eyes. I've got the orange flowers with the yellow centers. I got the green leaves sticking out. I know I look a little spooky. A little bit. All right. Looks like I got no new questions at the moment. Oh, here we go. Martha, how's it going? Good. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, lots of really awesome paintings that people have been posting. Lots of people have posted their works in progress, and pretty amazing. Okay. Let's talk about the eyelid. So my moon is asleep. I saw somebody, I think it was Sarah, pretty sure. Hang on, let me see. Let me make sure. I believe it was Sandy, not Sarah. I think it was Sandy. Correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy, if you're still on here. Sandy did a flower, so a little center with some petals around that for the inside of her eye. And I think she made the comment that she wanted her moon to be awake, which is really cool. My moon is asleep, okay? You can do with yours whatever you'd like. If you have a different idea, you can also look things up online, Google it, right? You'll get different ideas on how to maybe finish the inside of your moon, the eye on your moon. I'm going to go ahead and do this closed eyelid because my moon is asleep. Okay, but again, if you want to change things up, please feel free to do so. Now I'm going to grab my white chalk, my white chalk pencil. I'm going to draw it in first. Okay, and then we will paint it. I'm going to draw it. I'm going to draw the top on part. It almost looks like a boat with a sail also. If I give you guys a little bit, if I give you a close-up, it looks like a boat with a sail. Hold on one second. Okay, so here's my boat, and there's the sail on top, or it's a witch's hat, right? This is the top lid, top eyelid, and you just see the bottom part of the bottom lid. Okay, so again, though, feel free to change things up however you'd like. Here we go. And I'm going to start with the top lid. About the middle of my eyes, about across here. I'll start right there. Okay, there's the bottom. Okay, even that already looks like my moon has its eye closed. Okay, if I could leave it like that. I could simply paint over that and good to go. Okay, but we're going to go for it. Here's the top eyelid, curls back. Okay, and then from here, again, a little sailboat, a sail or a witch's hat. And then we got the bottom edge of the bottom eyelid, top edge of the bottom eyelid. All right. And then we can just paint it in. So, small brush. I'm going to use my 0 round brush for this. Clean it up because it's got some neon on it. Now, if you had some glow-in-the-dark paint, this would be a perfect spot for it. Over the eye, once you paint it, you can add some glow-in-the-dark paint on top. There we go. And then the bottom. There we go. Look at that. What do you guys think of that? Okay. Again, we take a little step back, look at our painting from a distance. Make sure we're not missing anything. Here's my black light. Shine it on that. Shine it on that one too. Okay. Now, glow-in-the-dark paint would also be, you could also add it to your stars, the little tiny stars. You know, you could still go back and like we did on the first session when we went through and splatted all those little tiny dots on that background. You could take and do the same thing, but with glow-in-the-dark paint, and your stars will light up, right? You can also take a little bit of blue, a little bit of your blue neon, mix it with a little bit of white, regular white, and do the same thing, and you'll get some glowing stars. They'll glow blue instead of white, but they'll still glow. Courtney, I don't blame you. It does look like a sailboat. How funny is that? Yep. Just a moon that's sleeping, but it does look like a sailboat. Too funny. Too funny. I can see it now, though. I can definitely see that. But all right, everyone. So a couple of last things would be to you sign it, okay? And I'm going to stick around a little bit here to answer questions and if you guys have comments or anything like that, we're almost done, unless I'm forgetting something. If you guys see that I'm forgetting something, let me know. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of my red here. I'm going to sign it in red. Actually, pink. Why not? Just adding a little bit of white to my pink to lighten it up a bit. Using my zero liner brush, can add a little water to it. Now, the last thing that you would do if you haven't done it yet, if you're painting on a canvas, if like me, you painted the edges, right? You flip it on its head and paint the bottom edge, which I haven't done. We'll do that here in just a moment. So right here on the bottom. Now, I didn't sign the original. I'll sign it right now. Now, don't leave me just yet, folks. Don't forget, please, to share your paintings. Share them with the group. I know not everybody likes to share. Feel a little vulnerable, especially if you feel like you didn't do a good job. I will remind you that we are our own worst critics. Once you get over the fear of showing your work, it makes things a lot easier. Okay, if you don't want to show your work because you don't want to be criticized, etc., that's okay. I totally understand it. But my recommendation is to post it anyway, share it anyway. When you get over that and you stop caring too much about what other people think about your art, it becomes a little bit easier. When you're painting, you're also not worried about that aspect so much, and you start to paint a little bit more for yourself. Okay, so if you're, if you're kind of on the fence about sharing, I would encourage you to do so. I personally would love to see your work, so if you can, please share it. Share it on the private group, and in the private group under the painting, under the 3 days of Dia de los Muertos that I created for this event. I will be making a post around this on my main painting with Jesse page after I've accumulated a few of your paintings, and I will share them on there. I won't tag you or anything. I just make a big old batch post where I put all the pictures that I've gotten so far of all the finished products, finished paintings, and people really enjoy those. They like to go through them and see what everybody else created. Okay. Also, I want to invite you guys, if you've been painting with me these last 3 days and you've been enjoying yourselves, I'm opening. I started a private art membership group in August. August was our first month. We're going into our third month. We've been having a lot of fun in there, creating and supporting each other. We got a really amazing group of people in there. Right about a little over 100 people that joined the group, but we've created a really nice community. People of different levels. Some are more, at the beginning stage. Some are a little more in the middle. Some are a little bit more advanced. But we all help each other out, and it's a really fun group. I teach how to draw and how to paint. I've got kids lessons and adult lessons every month. There's a new calendar that comes out, but I invite you to come join me there if you're interested. There is a link in the description of this session. There's a link in the description from yesterday's session and the day before where you can sign up to the email list where I'm going to be sending information out here pretty soon around the opening. I'm only going to be opening for 5 days in November. The doors close and open back up in March. If you're interested in thinking you might want to be a part of that, please sign up to the email list. And you can always opt out of it. You don't have, whatever I send out, when I send out the information, I don't have all the details yet, but when I do send out those details, if you're not interested, you can simply unsubscribe. No harm, no problem. Okay? But anyway, please don't forget it does look like a shark fin. You're right. But that's my closed eye on my moon, right? Again, if you guys want to do something different with that, please feel free to do so. Absolutely. Get creative with your painting as much as you'd like, and but don't forget to share. We really want to see what you guys got going on. Sounds good, Tina. Great. Yep. Yeah, that's right, Gloria. Fantastic people in that group. Love every one of you guys. Gloria is part of it. Tina, Dawn, Penny, and I know there's a few others of you in here that are hanging out with us today. Martha, You got it, Sarah. My pleasure. Awesome. Glad to hear. All right, everyone. So last thing you would do, flip it on its head. Again, if you're painting on an easel, if you're not painting on an easel, well, no big deal. You would take some of the paint that you started with. Let me grab some of that. I got a little over here. I'm just going to take a little paint from same paint colors that I used for that background the first day that we painted. A little bit of primary blue, a little bit of phthalo blue. Come on, come on. Hold on 1 second. I don't want to spill any of this on the floor, so gotta be careful here. All right. What the heck doesn't want to come out? Give me 1 second. Let me grab one of my other little bottles here. Being uncooperative. Okay. So we mix them together. A little bit of water, right? Can't forget our water. Just helps everything flow. Now, I could add a little bit of white to this just to brighten things up a little tiny bit. And here we go. Oops, a little more water. Some people like to paint their edges. Some people don't. Either is absolutely fine, but especially if you plan on hanging your picture up without a frame, sometimes it's nice to have your edge painted. If you're going to frame it, if you like it enough where you're going to frame it, you don't need to paint the edges. All right, and that is that. That stays like that for a few minutes while it dries. But I want to thank all of you. Thank you so much for joining me for this 3-day session. Again, I just want to remind everyone that these sessions are all recorded. Will be available through November 2nd, Tuesday midnight, November 2nd. They'll go away and get stored in the Finding Your Brushstroke library. Okay, but I appreciate all of you. If you have any questions about anything, please send me a message. You can still comment under the post, under the video, and I'll see them. I will come back and check things out later. Hi, Marjorie. Thank you. You got it. My pleasure, Marjorie. Thank you for joining in today. I just added it, Mary. The glow paint. So the glow paint, you don't have to, I'm not adding glow paint to mine. A glow paint is added in exactly the same way as you did the fluorescent paint. It just depends on what you want to glow. Okay. So glow paint, give me 1 second. Let me grab some right here. I got a couple of glow paints, different types of glow paints here. Okay, so I've got some of this glow basic white. It's more of a greenish tint to it. Okay, and then I've got, for example, this orange glow in the dark paint. I've got a few different. Now these say glow. You notice that these actually say glow. These will not glow as strongly as the fluorescents, but they will glow pretty nicely. Okay, these actually glow under black light. Okay, so if you were going to add some of this stuff, you're going to layer it over the top. I'm just going to go ahead and add some to the eye. Okay, and if you wanted to do this to your stars, add some of these little glow in the dark stars to your sky, you would splatter them with the brush just like I did at the beginning. So I've got some glow in the dark paint right there. This is just the basic white. And if you want to see glow, you add this to it. Now, this stuff is really transparent, and you could add it anywhere if I wanted to make my flowers glow a little bit, but this will reduce, if I put this over my neon, it'll reduce how much it glows. Okay. Now, there may be some paints out there that both glow under black light and glow in the dark. So glow under black light and then glow in the dark. I haven't run into those yet, but if there are, let me know. because that would be really cool. So now I'm just taking some of this glow-in-the-dark paint and I'm adding it to the teeth. Now, if I wanted my flowers to glow instead of, so in other words, if I wanted my flowers to glow in the dark instead of glow under black light, I would add, for example, my orange glow or my yellow or green glow to the flowers instead of my fluorescent. But so if you were asking about the fluorescent, Mary, the black light paint, the black light, the neon, and the fluorescent are different than the glow in the dark paints. Okay? So, but this that I'm adding right now is glow in the dark paint. So let's see here on the teeth. And then again, see there's a difference there. This is more of a glow. It will glow under my black light, just not like my neon will do. Okay? But this will glow under this will glow in the dark, and those will glow under black light. I probably confused some of you, and I apologize. Okay, but I think you understand. There's glow in the dark paint, and then there's glow under black light paint. All right. So, but anyway, Mary, did that answer your question? Hopefully, that answered your question. But yeah, you can add that stuff to same process that I used with the neon paint. Okay. There you go. Yeah, that looks really funny if you do the teeth. You could also even miss or alternate. Maybe you do a couple of teeth, one on top, one on the bottom, or every other tooth. That looks really cool. I saw somebody do that. I did this event in person 2-3 weeks ago with a large group of people, and everybody kind of does their own thing. But some people did that with the neon paint though. They alternated teeth with different colors, and that looked pretty neat. So anyhow, yeah, that would be pretty awesome. So, okay. But all right, everybody, I think we're good. Again, if you guys have any questions, please put them in the comments there. I've got about another minute or so, maybe 2 minutes. It just depends on what questions are asked. Guadalupe, you got it. My pleasure. Let me jump over and make sure I'm not missing anyone. There we go. Joanne, you got it. Thank you, Joanne. I appreciate it. Absolutely. And don't forget to share, okay? That would be fantastic. All right, let's see. What else? I think we're good. If there are no more questions, folks, I want to once again thank all of you. If anything during any of this wasn't clear, please send me a message. I'll be more than happy to answer you. Or if you have questions around any of the other stuff that we did on here, maybe questions about how to approach your painting, etc., go ahead and send me a message under the Painting with Jesse Messenger. I'll be more than happy to answer you. All right. Thank you all again. Oh, attach the big star. I did not. Robin, thank you. You caught that. Yes. Let me go ahead and flip this over. I thought I was done, huh? So right here, we got a little string that attaches the top of my star to the top of the moon. Darn it. I knew it. All right, here we go. So you can use a little flat brush like this number 2 that I've got. It's got a little square head, but what's important is that my bristles flatten out and get really skinny. This is actually something that I can use to make my line instead of my little liner brush. A little liner brush, because it's a really skinny point, because it's a really skinny brush, can move around a little bit as I come down from the top. Now, in this case, I'd work my way down. If I come across like this will work, but it can move around a little bit on me as I'm coming down, whereas this is going to be a little bit more stable. It just depends on how small of a line you've got. If it helps, what you can do is draw it in first. So I can take my chalk pencil there and just draw a little line that connects the top of my star to the top of my moon. Okay? Once I've got that and it's nice and straight, I can go ahead and apply a little bit of paint. So I'll take a little bit of yellow. Thank you, Robin, for reminding me. A little bit of water, mix it in with the paint. Again, I'm using my number 2 flat brush. I press down. I am double loading the brush, meaning I'm putting paint on both sides. I press down, pushing down so that those bristles come together more tightly. And then I come over here. This is all dry. I can put my hand right on top of it. And there we go. Okay. If that doesn't work and you've got to erase it, you can. So my line is just a little tiny bit crooked. If I want to straighten it out a bit, because it's all still wet right there, that paint is still wet, I can take a lightly damp paper towel and right over the top of that. All disappears. Okay, I go lightly because I don't want to remove any of the paint underneath. Right? We can do it over. A little more paint. And here we go again. I know I'm covering what I'm doing, folks. I apologize. It's just that this is kind of tricky. I'll try it like this. Oops, I touched the canvas already. Let's go with that. There we go. A little straighter, a little better. And ta-da. Okay? You did get me, Robin. Good one, good one. Okay, Robin, my pleasure. The other Robin, Robin Davis. Thank you. Thank you, Gloria. You too. Everybody have an amazing evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you might be. And I appreciate all of you hanging out with me for these 3 days. I will see you all very soon. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Bye-bye.